Take the Mic. I am your host, Brianna Evans, and I am here with a great friend of mine, Lori Martin. Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited for you to share your story and your testimony and all of the wise words that you have. Can we just hear a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing and what that was like?
So I literally was, okay, not literally, I was born in church. My parents were very young, but both of their parents were in our same church. So I grew up with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, and I just grew up in church.
Mhm.
So much so that, like, the first Sunday my parents brought me to church, they forgot they had me and they left me at church.
You know what? That is like my worst fear to happen when we get to the car because sometimes Bryce and I will drive separate. And I'm like, all right, kids, you got to make sure who's coming with me, who's going with daddy, because I do not want to leave one of them there thinking that, oh, yeah, one went with Bryce and us thinking that that is hilarious. Were you scared?
I was a baby.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
How long did it take for them to remember? Oh
But
my
that's one of the
gosh.
stories I was told.
Wow.
So I grew up in church, and I just always was one of the church kids.
Hmm.
Everybody knew who I was. They all knew my parents because my grandparents and my parents were very active in church. So I grew up in church.
Hmm.
So I don't have one of those wow, spectacular, saved from the depths of
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I do remember specifically praying with a wonderful godly woman, Doris Howard.
Hmm.
She was our organ player at church and just was just a saint.
No. Now, do you remember what age you remember kind of being like, wow, like everything kind of clicked for you?
I was probably around 10 to 12 when that happened,
Hmm.
but I went on mission trips when I was a teenager. Like, I'm talking 13 years old. I went to
By yourself or did your parents go?
It was with a group of other teenagers called Teen Missions.
Okay.
So I was 13 going without my parents. There was 30 other kids, 6 adults,
Hmm.
and we went to Holland that year. And I feel like those years of Teen Missions summers just just built on top of each summer built on top of the other,
Hmm.
just with faith and things that don't have anything to do with the Bible, but just being safe. And, I wear my shoes pretty much everywhere. You will not find me barefoot on any ground because in other countries, that's just not what you do.
Yeah.
But the, the Christian just stones were built up and just layered on top of each other
Yeah.
during that summer.
Just made it
Helped
stronger.
me learn how to trust and simple things of we were on a work team
Hmm.
and we had run out of things. Well, we were on the top of a mountain during this summer. We were on the top of the mountain. It was a 2-day trip to get to where we were. So
Hmm.
if we sent somebody and then they had to come back, it was going to be 4 days before
Right.
we had. So we were running out of things. We stopped, we circled up and prayed. And I mean, we said amen, and we heard the donkey bells coming up the trail, and they were bringing supplies that we needed.
No.
So it was like,
How special is that?
Mhm.
And just to see, you're over there doing God's work. And then he's like, you know what? You're over there to glorify me. I'm gonna bring this here for you and help you guys. So what type of work did you do over there? What did a day look like?
I different things. So we worked in I went to Holland,
Hmm.
and we pretty much took an old pole barn and made it into college dorms. I went to Scotland, and we cleaned up an old estate, like
Hmm.
a stable house,
Hmm.
and made bathrooms and cleaned up some of the areas there for a Bible college. I went to Brazil. That was also at a Bible camp. So we built bathrooms, and we built a staircase because the old stairs that they had were straight up.
Mhm.
So we built a staircase that kinda, weaved back and forth up from the river up to the camp.
Mhm. Wow.
And then when I went to Thailand, we built a church, or at least got it started.
So you just kind of like made your way up there. I mean, you started small and just went big. Was that
Mhm.
all in one trip or were those mini trips? Like you came home, you went back?
That was meant every summer. I started when I was
Oh,
13, and then I took a break right around the time I graduated high school and was gonna start nursing school, and then I ended up going back for 2 more years. Um, I did go one time with my sister, and we were gonna build an orphanage, so that was
a whole orphanage? You and your sister?
no,
Oh,
my
the whole
sister
team?
went with me, yeah, the
Oh
whole
my
team. We
goodness.
built an orphanage, and then, the last summer I went, we were in Brazil, and the first floor of a Bible school was made, and we were working on building the second story.
That's incredible. That is such an experience. I feel like personally, I would have like so much anxiety going over there and like not knowing what to do. Is that missions team still around to
It
this
is.
day? So other teens can go?
Mhm. 9/11 really put a damper on it because a lot of people are afraid to travel now. So when I went, there was like 30 kids on a team and 5 adults. And now when I look at it, there's maybe 15 kids
Hmm.
and like 4 adults.
I
So it
also
has
think we live in a different time too.
Mhm.
So it's more scary than what happened at 9/11. It's more factors. And then especially like I feel like I would be a little nervous sending my kids off without me. That's also like I'm a little bit of a helicopter parent. Like we don't allow sleepovers or anything like that either. Um, I mean, I would love to go to Israel one day, and there's a tour over there that'll take you to all the spots.
Mhm.
One of my friends did it in college, and I think that would be such a special trip to take with the kids because they hear all these stories and then kind of just like place it and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like this is where it is. But imagine the heaviness there.
I would be a blubbering mess.
I mean, the power that would come out of
Mhm.
just being. I feel like stepping foot into Israel, like not even going to the spots yet, just like knowing that, ah, man, it would be so powerful. But that is something that would probably be the only place that I would want to go because again, I am such a homebody. Like Bryce and I have family in Florida. We come back and we're like, let's never leave the house again. um, so then you did that, and then did you went straight to nursing school after you came home from there?
From from high school, I graduated from a small Christian school in Denton, and straight out of high school, like the next year I started in nursing school in Easton, and I had some issues there. It was my first time away from home, so I goofed off a little bit. My grades weren't the best.
Hmm.
And then when I got into my second year, I was so excited to do mom baby stuff. So excited. But I had to do psych first, and that scared me. And I didn't do well in that, and I found out later that the teachers at the school were not trying to help me at all.
Was it just you?
They found out that I had graduated from a Christian school, and they were determined that I was not gonna make it through school under their
So was that it was strictly because you were a Christian?
they told me so I'm 19 years old.
Mhm.
They actually called my mother in
Mhm.
with myself to have a parent-teacher conference. Pretty much, I don't know how else to describe it, but,
Mhm.
they don't do that in college.
Right.
So they told me because I lived at home, I didn't have a boyfriend, and I believed in God, that I did not have a good basis in reality, and that I needed to go to a counselor of their choice before I came back to school the next semester.
You should have been like, "Look, sis, I have a great base and his name is Jesus Christ." That's what you should have said.
So that was I ended up dropping out, like, in the middle of the year, and then I went on one of my mission trips, and I decided during that mission trip that I did not need that in my life. I needed to find a Christian school that
Mhm.
was gonna, help me with my beliefs, not be totally against me.
Mhm. 'Cause then at that point too, you're not really being totally true to yourself. No, then you it's like not it's not okay that you have to stuff it in your back pocket just to make it through school. But you're a nurse now,
Mhm.
so haha.
So, the school I was going to graduate with a diploma, which is there's LPN, there's RN. In the level of RN, diploma is the lowest because it's not even a degree. So, I was going to be getting a diploma. When I decided my parents, Jim was actually involved at this point, that I was gonna go to a Christian school, I ended up graduating with honors
Mhm.
with a bachelor's degree in nursing. So, it was so much better
Oh,
that
yeah.
I, could have imagined. And I wrote down a verse because, um, Proverbs, this has been my verse through this whole time, um, especially during nursing school because I always wanted to be a nurse. And I was like everything was going against me
Mhm.
in my mind at the
Mhm.
time. So Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life.
Amen. Amen.
So I felt like at the time nothing was going right. And it was making me sick because I wanted to be a nurse so much.
Mhm.
And then when it finally came to be, it was so much better than I
Yeah.
could have thought.
And I think that's where we really have to put all of our trust in God, because when we feel these obstacles getting thrown to us, it's like, wow, like why are these things happening and we don't see it at that moment? But it's because God had something bigger for you.
Mhm.
You were true to your faith to him and he's going to reward you for that. Like this world is so big on cutting Christians down for so many things. That there's a lot of like, oh, you think you're holier than everybody else. And it's like, no, that's not the truth. Like we are broken. We sin. I mean, that's us as humans. The difference is that we have somebody who gives us grace and mercy and love and wants the best for us. So, when we show our faith to him, of course he's gonna bless us times a
Mhm.
thousand, And even when we think he's not there, he's still there with us. And look at you. I mean, you have a great job doing what you want and doing what you love. So then you became a nurse. And how long have you been doing that now?
I became a nurse in 1997.
A year
So,
after I was born.
oh my god, I'm not that old.
You're not. You're cool.
So, about my math is not mathing, but about 28 years.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. And you love it just the same.
Mhm.
Wow. I bet you've
There's
seen.
definitely been I've changed in what I'm doing a lot, some of the things, but, it's this same kind of moms, babies, kids kinda thing.
So are you in postpartum or are you in delivery or do you kind of like switch back and forth?
At, Milford, where I am, we switch back and forth. We do labor and delivery, and we do postpartum.
What's your favorite?
Mm, it honestly depends on the day and the person.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I really wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, but now I worked in the medical field and now I am so grossed out. I've been out of the field for a very long time and I'm like, this is definitely not where I'd want to be. Oh man.
There's always the just tremendous deliveries. Like, we have every so often, we'll have somebody come in, and they are playing worship music as their calming music, and I'm like, "Well, that's the room to be in."
Yeah.
Just because they already have that attitude and just quietness. And then when that baby's born and dad starts crying, oh, I am done,
Done.
just done.
So you had the pleasure of delivering one of my kids. And let me tell you, that experience could have been so traumatic. And I remember I was like, where do I know you from? And I think you and I did that the whole time, the
Mhm.
very short amount of time I was in labor. And then knowing that like where I knew you from was so comforting. It was just like, wow. And then I remember the rest of that time, there was another, I don't know if she was a nurse or a CNA, and she came in and she started talking about God. And I was just like, Oh my gosh, this experience was so amazing because I wasn't even supposed to deliver at your hospital.
Mm-mm.
That I walked in ready to roll. So it's so cool to to be friends now, and you got to experience that
Mhm.
big moment with us. And you were truly, like, so comforting. So you're very talented.
I try to stay calm when everything else is going crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
If I'm going crazy, then it's time to worry and watch out, but I
yeah.
really do try to stay calm and
I'm sure you see a lot of hard things, though, being a nurse in that field.
mhm.
How do you handle that?
I I'll say to me, this is where my experience comes in
Mhm.
because everybody thinks, "Oh, you work in labor and delivery, you play with babies all day,"
Right.
is what a lot of people think. But there's so many times that either mom is very sick or, something is happening and there's something wrong with the baby, and we've even have moms and babies die.
Mhm.
And, it's just part of our, not everything turns out perfect.
Mhm.
And there's no way to avoid it.
Mhm.
So when I am in a situation like that, I try to be the most calm I can.
Mhm.
And because I'm working in a public place, I can't straight out like push my religion on you.
Mhm.
But there are many times that I'm like, is it okay if I pray with you?
Mhm.
Is it okay if I, you know, just stand here with you and hold your hand?
Mhm.
I'm not pushing it, but I will ask. And a lot of times people are hungry just for a little bit of religion,
Mhm.
some, calmness, prayer, knowing that someone else cares for them
Yeah.
and what they're going through. And I'm not just a nurse taking care of a patient
Mhm.
who has had a problem. I'm I'm trying to be personal
Mhm.
to them specifically in what they're going through.
Mhm. And I'm sure too, like, for example, if I was going through that because God is such a big part of my life, because I understand in the medical field, actually any field, you really have to be careful because there's some policies and things like that. I would feel so comforted if a nurse was like, "Can I pray with you?" So you never know, like, or maybe it's somebody who has been on the fence, like, "Hmm, what is this?" And kind of coming into the world of Jesus.
Mhm.
I mean, it does a big, big thing. He is there again, whether they believe or not. He's still with them, and he's still gonna to comfort them. Um, how do you think that you handle seeing what you see at work and finding God in that, though?
Of course, I see God every day a baby is born because it's
Right.
just a straight out miracle science wise.
Mhm.
If you think from the very beginning how babies are developed and how they grow. And I, I mean, it's a complete miracle. There is
Absolutely.
no way that this all happens by chance.
Absolutely.
And, unfortunately, I have seen some early miscarriages.
Mhm.
And because of my role in helping the mom and helping the doctor, a lot of times, I will see a miscarried baby.
Mhm.
And I mean, a baby might only be this big, but there's no way you can't tell me that that's a baby
Mhm.
because, you know, what I can see the eyes, I can see the toes and arms, and you can't tell me that's a blob,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
kind of thing.
heartbeats start at what? 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Is that 6 weeks or is it earlier?
It's right around 5 to 6
5,
weeks.
6 weeks. And
Hmm.
still, like, that's still a creation from God.
Right. So all the things that, by chance have to happen for a baby to develop and be born, they're no, that's God all the way, 100%.
Mhm. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's so detailed and the way that things just perfectly happen and when you see situations, it's like, how do people not believe that
Hmm.
that God did this? And it is such a miracle. But I mean, you doing what you do has to be so rewarding. Oh. to see. I mean, I feel like I would for sure cry if I ever delivered a baby. I was actually in the delivery room with one of my really good friends. It was the only birth I've ever seen, and it was like, because I've had a bunch. Seeing it on the other end was so crazy. But I do remember, I don't know if you remember this, doctor that delivered Bella, she was like, "Do you want to finish pulling the rest of your baby out?" And I was like, "No, like just get the rest of her out of me. I don't want to do that." And I think when I delivered Blair, I don't remember. I'd have to ask Bryce, but I think they asked me if I wanted a mirror, and I'm like, "No, I don't want to see that right now." It's just like, meh. I would probably throw up or pass out. I am, I am not not that girl. That's what I mean. Thank God knew I wasn't going to be a nurse. He knew it.
There are times when there if if I'm in a delivery
Yeah.
and mom is having a really hard time and it's that last push and the baby is being delivered, I'm the one in the background that is like, open your eyes because everybody's, tight closed. They're pushing, and baby's coming. I'm like,
Yeah.
open your eyes. That way you can see when the baby is born. And, as they bring the baby up to your belly and everything, because everybody is so tight and, so controlled and
Yeah.
thinking about their own pushing
Yeah.
that they forget these first moments. And I'm like, open your eyes.
Yeah. It is. But I'll tell you what, that moment when they put that baby on your chest for the first time, my goodness, there is nothing like it. Meeting your baby for the first time, it is just so special.
Mhm.
And I remember with Blair, we had a nurse and she was so great too. I was like, "Hey, can you take a picture?" And she was just like, "Yeah." And she took pictures of everything, like the first way, Bryce and I, when we had her on us. And it was just so special. And I appreciate when nurses actually do care and they make it just as special.
Mhm.
Like it's not just your experience. Like,
Right.
it's everybody in the room. It's a big moment.
Mhm.
Um, so you mentioned Jim. How did you and Jim meet?
So in the middle of growing up in church, Jim, this guy just happened to start coming to church and I knew he was a musician, but he worked with the soundboard in the back of church. So I didn't see him in church very often, just, he was in the back with the soundboard.
Hmm.
And then we had a Sunday school class, like young adult, once. It was me and him and another person that was kind of mentally disabled. So she wasn't like or not our equals, but like our, um, I don't even know what to say. Like she was not in our same mental
Yeah.
age kind of thing. So I just knew he was there. And I went away on my last mission trip. And apparently my pastor's wife had been pestering Jim to ask me out. And he was just like, I hardly even know this person. No, whatever. So when I went on my mission trip, he had a little reprieve. Well, as soon as I got back, I found out she asked him, why don't you ask Lori out? And then she came to me and was like, what would you think if Jim was to ask you out? And I was like,
Did you
who's
have
Jim?
eyes
Like,
on him at
who's
all?
no, Jim, that guy back there. So later that week he called and I was like, wonder what this is about. So
Suspicious.
yeah, so we went out to dinner and we went out to a place that had just opened. So like their customer service wasn't the greatest,
Mhm.
which meant we had to talk to each other. So we had dinner, we just talked. And for the longest time, we honestly were just friends. It wasn't anything
Mhm.
like love at first sight or anything. We went fishing, we would go, Christian roller skating night kind of thing.
Cute.
We were friends.
Right.
And he lived about 1 block from me. So we got to the point where I worked night shift, he worked day shift.
Mhm.
So when he went to work in the morning, he would write a note and put it on my car windshield like under the windshield wipers.
Aw.
And then when I got up to go to class or whatever, or go to work, I would get the note. So I would read the note and just whatever. And then that night when I came home, I would leave the response on his car.
That is the cutest thing. Oh my gosh.
So we did that for a long time. Now, apparently, somewhere in my attic, I have many of those notes.
You
Now,
kept them?
why did I keep them? I don't know, but
Because that's so cute.
I have a lot of them.
Hmm.
So we were just friends, and we had, I don't know why, but we had arranged to go and have our pictures taken together
I wonder
as
why.
friends. I mean, we really were friends
You
at that
sure that
time.
there was no feeling starting?
I don't feel like at that point. So about 3 days before we were gonna go get these pictures taken, he wrote a note on my car saying, "I feel like this is more than friendship. What do you think? I would like to become more serious."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh my goodness, yes." Like, it was an immediate
Like, you didn't
yes.
even have to think about
Right,
it.
I didn't have to think about it. So we went that weekend to get our pictures taken. We hadn't held hands, we hadn't talked about anything, like talked about anything,
Mhm.
and here the photographer is posing us like an engaged couple.
Well, so much
So
for that intimate first everything, right?
so it's funny to look back at those pictures and think when we planned them, they weren't anything, but they ended up being our first official pictures together.
That's so cute.
And then he told me he loved me in a note on my car the first time. My mom was joking with me saying, it took him so many months to write it. It's going to take him forever to say it.
Right.
But it was about a month and a half after that first, "How do you feel?" that he actually proposed to me. He was like, I knew it. There was no question. Why wait? So,
No. Please tell me you guys still leave notes on each other's cars.
well, it's not quite the same when you're in the same driveway.
And I'm gonna totally start doing it to Bryce. That is so cute. Sometimes I try well, not so much anymore, sorry, honey, but I would try to be cute sometimes and, like, leave him a little note in the morning. Maybe 3 or 4 times in our whole marriage. But you know what is that you just spark something. That's really cute to keep that spark alive, you know? I love that. That's so
So
cute.
all of that happened during the time that I was not going to nursing school and trying to get into my new nursing school. So it was nice to have someone besides my parents, and then I had Jim that I could, you know, talk to and
Mhm.
rely on during that time that I didn't know what was going on because I had found a Christian school I wanted to go to,
Mhm.
but because I had goofed off in my first year, I couldn't get in that first year because I had some more prerequisites to do.
Mhm.
And then the next year, he had proposed to me and I got turned down again because I
Aw.
didn't have the best grades. So I
Mhm.
had to wait another whole year. So we originally were going to get married after nursing school, and because it took so long to get in, we decided to go ahead and get married
Get married.
before school.
So then when did you start having kids?
Well, I was counting down the days. I knew I had to finish school, and I once I got a job, I knew I needed to wait 1 year for my insurance to kick in. So
It took that long once you get married for insurance to kick in?
it took
Or for
1
your job?
year 1 year from the time I started my job for insurance to be full
My goodness.
it at this hospital it
Yeah.
did anyway. So I had arranged like, I knew I couldn't have a baby until after May of '98. So we had everything all planned-ish, and our first son, Jimmy, was born in July of '98.
You listen, girl, you have discipline. I feel like if I look, we wanted kids so bad, I never even went to college because we got married. We had Brody, then we had Brooks, then we had Bella, then we had Blair. So it's like we just didn't stop. But good for you for sticking it out and making sure you got to your goal. Proud of you, girl.
So when one of the big things with going to school, I went to school in Tennessee for,
Mhm.
nursing school. Jim and I both grew up here, well, in Maryland, over in Denton and Greensboro. So for me to go to school and now we're married, I'm pulling him away from his family also. So we had an agreement during nursing school that every night I was going to study for 2 hours
Mhm.
because I had pulled him away from his family, his church, his job. I was gonna make the most of this.
Right.
So that agreement that we had, that definitely helped me get through school and,
Mhm.
helped me get the honors that I did because I was not wasting his time by dragging him all the way out there. I was gonna
Did
make the most of it.
did you feel, like, guilty for that at all? Like, did it weigh on you or
I
not
wouldn't say
really?
it was guilty, but
No.
I didn't want to disappoint him
Yeah.
because he was moving away from his family,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to make sure I did the best
Right.
for him and me. So but it helped.
Yeah.
Like, I would come out of the study room and he'd be like, I'm like, "I promise. I have done all the studying I can." But it was
Before you check out, because I feel like you kinda hit that wall, like, you can only take so
Mhm.
much in before you're like, "Okay, I'm not really taking anything in anymore." You have to,
Right.
like, walk away from it.
Yeah. But it worked out. It was a good agreement.
Look at you. So you had Jimmy, and then you had how many after that?
I have had 4 children. Jimmy was in '98. Tyler was born in 2001. Rachel was '04, and Hope was '08.
So you had them pretty spaced out.
Mhm.
Wow. How old are they all now?
So Jimmy is gonna be 27, just amazes me.
Mhm.
We'll talk about Tyler,
Mhm.
but Rachel is 21
Mhm.
and Hope is 16.
Did Jimmy I could be lying. Did he get engaged or is he married?
He's engaged.
Engaged.
Rachel is also engaged.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Did
I'm not
like,
old
how are
enough
you
to
there?
I know, I'm not old enough to have engaged kids.
You're not.
No.
That's crazy. You don't blink.
I know.
Don't blink.
Yeah.
So, Tyler, what happened with Tyler?
So, Jimmy was 4 years old,
Mhm.
or he was probably 3 when he was
So he's the oldest.
Jimmy is
Jimmy.
the
Mhm.
the oldest. So Tyler was born in December of 2001. While I was pregnant, 9/11 happened, all that stressful stuff. So he was
With
born
Tyler. You were pregnant with
pregnant
Tyler
with
when
Tyler.
9/11 was happening. Okay.
Mhm. And I just remember it because there was strange things happening in our family. Jim had had a car accident and
Mhm.
we were getting a new car, but I remember just being stressed
Mhm.
during that time. Not Jimmy, Tyler was born December of 2001. And when he was 18 months old,
Mhm.
he had a sudden illness.
Mhm.
So on a Thursday, we had gone and taken pictures at Walmart. Everybody used to take pictures at
Like J.C.
Walmart.
Penney, but Walmart?
It was Walmart.
I had no idea Walmart had
Oh,
those.
yep. Thank goodness, because our first year of Jimmy being born, we did Walmart pictures and sent
Mm.
them to our family pretty much every month.
Mhm.
So, um, Tyler's 18 months old, Jimmy is 4, and we go and do Walmart pictures.
Mhm.
Tyler was not feeling the best, but it was not enough to stop us from doing pictures. He was always, always, always smiling
You
and
mean
just
like he had a
happy.
fever?
He had stomach issues.
Stomach okay. Now has that he always had stomach issues?
Mm-mm.
So that was just like literally that day started.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just a little bit of, upset stomach.
Mhm.
But like I said, nothing that hurt him, nothing that kept him from being his happy self because
Right.
he was always just happy and giggly and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then I also, at the time, found out I was pregnant with Rachel. So I was about 9 weeks pregnant with Rachel.
Mhm.
And we had gotten a little T-shirt for Tyler to wear
Mhm.
that said, "Middle child syndrome, here I come."
Oh, man.
So I was gonna put that on,
For the Walmart pictures.
no, for going to see my
Oh,
parents
okay.
later that weekend. So, when we were at my parents' telling them that I was having another baby, Tyler started getting sicker
Mhm.
and, like, actually was throwing up and stuff,
Mhm.
but it was kinda coming and going.
Mhm.
So, um, Saturday was a little rough, but Sunday was fine.
Mhm.
And then Monday, we had Bible school started. So he was feeling good. I took him to Bible school.
Mhm.
And then we went to Jim's mom and told her we were going to have a baby.
Mhm.
And then I had to work Tuesday night. So Jim stayed home with the kids like he always did.
Mhm.
But in the morning, he called me and he was like, I need to bring Tyler to you because he's still throwing up. And I was like, okay. So,
And you were working as a nurse
yeah,
in the hospital. Were you in labor and delivery yet or no? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I was in labor and delivery from the
From the
beginning.
beginning. Okay.
Um, so Jim brought um, Tyler to me at work so he didn't have to go to daycare
Mhm.
kind of thing. So I sat up with him that day and we ended up going to the hospital because of just vomiting and
Mhm.
vomiting.
It just got worse and
Yeah, it
worse.
just wasn't getting any better. And that night, I was so tired because I had worked all night
Mhm.
and stayed awake. And then that night, I was Tyler was in his hospital crib. I had gotten medicine, IV fluids, and stuff like that. And I was sleeping in the other bed of the room. And at midnight, they woke me up and was like, Tyler doesn't have a heart rate right now, but we're going to work on him. And then so back then, they shuffled me out of the room
Mhm.
while they worked on him. My Everybody at work was pretty much my friend. So my friends called Jim.
Mhm.
Probably that aide that we were talking about earlier, Victoria, probably.
Mhm.
As soon as Jim and Jimmy got there, she whisked Jimmy away, gave him some graham crackers and
Mhm.
chocolate milk kind of thing.
Right.
And we just waited. And as a nurse, I know when things are going to turn around and be okay. And I know when this is not going to be okay.
Mhm.
So our pediatrician came in and told us that they had worked on Tyler for so long and had given him so many medicines, but they are going to, start those medicines again. Well, I know as a nurse with kids,
Mhm.
you hardly ever get to the medicines. If something is going wrong with breathing or heart rate, you hardly ever get to the medicines, let alone go through all of them and start again. So
Mhm.
I knew in my heart that this was not going to turn out well.
Right.
So when the doctor finally came back and told us that Tyler had passed away, I was already prepared, I guess you could say, because I already kind of knew
Mhm.
from my medical side.
Mhm.
But Jim was, of course, distraught.
Mhm.
Jim's mom, who at the time was not a Christian, and I must admit, I don't know now if she is a Christian, but she wailed louder than I think I ever would have wailed, just because I feel like she had no hope at all,
Right.
and her grandbaby had died.
Yeah.
So we found out later what we think is that he got E. coli somewhere. We don't know where or how, but it had eaten a hole through his stomach. So while he was sleeping and I was sleeping, his stomach actually ruptured
Wow.
and he hemorrhaged from the inside.
And there was no way anybody could have
Mm-mm.
seen that before. What was your first off, I am so sorry that you've had to go through that. Um, that is everybody's worst fear. And the strength that you had that day, that you felt in your heart from the medical side, that was nothing short of the Holy Spirit giving you what you needed right then and there, especially, to be there for your husband and your other son there. What was your first initial reaction when the nurse was like, you need to get out of here? No, you didn't leave, did you?
I did.
You did leave. So when they said that he didn't have a heart rate, what was your first initial reaction?
It'll be fine. Like I said, most of the time with kids,
Right.
it's a quick turnaround. It sounds weird, but
So it happens more than we think?
if there's something going on and a baby's heart stops,
Mhm.
usually once you help them breathe, that their heart rate will come up and
Okay.
start again. So, of course, I was like half asleep and majorly stressed, but I thought it would be okay.
You just didn't take it seriously. Like, okay, this is what's happening. They'll help him and then everything
Right.
will be
Everything
fine.
will be okay.
Yeah. Wow. So then when do you think you started to actually grieve and let it sit in?
Um, it definitely having to leave the hospital
Mhm.
without Tyler was just surreal. I and then it was the middle of the night, so I had to go home and go to bed.
Mhm.
I don't even remember, who knows if I slept or not, but the next morning, waking up and realizing this is real
Right.
kinda thing.
Like you would just want it to be a dream and it
Yeah.
wasn't real.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Jimmy was there. Does he remember that at all?
He does remember parts of it,
Mhm.
and this is part of the as a parent, you do what you think is good.
Mhm.
So we had kept him separate, and, when we told him that Tyler was sick
Mhm.
and he had just become so sick that God decided to take him to heaven.
Mhm.
So Jimmy started running down the hallway, and we were like, "Where are you going, sweetie?" He wanted to tell Doctor Scott, who was already there, that Tyler was in heaven with Jesus.
How
And I'm
pure.
like, so Jimmy was huge at that time. So because we had told him that Tyler went to heaven, we did not have him at the funeral. We had somebody stay with him down in the nursery of the church,
Mhm.
and we just thought that would be too confusing. We
Mhm.
told him Tyler went to heaven. Why are we having a casket?
Yeah.
Whatever. So later, as Jimmy is growing older, and we have, we go to the cemetery where the stone is, so we'll never forget Tyler. And
Right.
as he gets older, he realizes what that is.
Yeah.
And oh, Tyler is buried, and so I thought I had done the right thing, but it did end up. He was very distraught later, realizing what had happened.
But I mean, at that age, he was 4.
Hmm.
How else would you explain that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, I think no parent would know the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think there is a right thing to do.
Mm-mm.
I think you did your best. I think that your love for your kids shows. I mean, even today.
Hmm.
Since you were pregnant with Rachel, so you knew that you were gonna have another baby. Did you feel like you started to have anxiety then because of going through that with Tyler?
My pregnancies have always been like perfect. I had perfect pregnancies.
Mhm.
But every time I was pregnant, someone would die in my family.
No.
So when I was pregnant with Jimmy, my grandfather died.
Mhm.
When I was pregnant with Tyler, my other grandmother died. So when I got pregnant with um
Rachel?
with Rachel, I actually told my grandmother, I was like, "Don't you dare get sick."
Yeah.
And then Tyler died.
Mhm.
So it was like I was having issues with that more because um after Rachel, I thought I was pregnant, and Jim said the first thought that went through his head was, "Who's gonna die this time?" So when I finally became pregnant with Hope,
Mhm.
I actually had to ask our pastor's wife at the time, Sharon Parks. I had her specifically pray for me and my pregnancy, that I could enjoy my pregnancy, because so many things had happened before. And
Mhm.
even with Rachel, Tyler died, but when Rachel was born, she had a knot in her cord where she had played jump rope and jumped through the cord. And at any time, if that had pulled tight, I would have lost her too.
Right.
So when she was born and they showed me that, I just broke down.
Yeah.
So then getting pregnant with Hope later, I definitely needed prayer
For
and,
sure.
yeah, to
For
just
sure.
be able to enjoy my pregnancy. And it worked because it's prayer.
Yeah, prayer is so powerful, but when you went through everything with Tyler, did you doubt God at that time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you think you got through that? Like, what was your steps of that? How did that look?
um, I don't know that I have specific steps
Right.
because But like I said, when I woke up that morning, my I was numb.
Right.
You know, people were bringing over food, and I did get to the point where you could tell the people who came over, you could tell who was Christians and who was not Christians
Right.
because, the people who came over that were Christians, it was sad, of course. But the people that came over that were not sad, were not Christians, were just like
Done.
overly, overly distraught more than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost wanted to kick them out of the house because they were too much for
Mm-hmm.
me. But I saw the two sides when
Mm-hmm.
you have faith and you don't have faith.
Mm-hmm.
And like I knew I was going to see Tyler again, and they didn't have that hope. But even things like, I'm pregnant. All this happened, and people are putting food in front of me, and I do not want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, Lori, you have to eat. So somebody would say grace, here's your food. Let's say grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even want to thank God for my food right then
Right.
because I didn't I didn't want to thank God for anything
Right.
at that point.
Right.
So that was one of what I remember,
You
you
were
know,
angry.
yeah, I have this food in front of me and I just can't thank God for that food right now.
Yeah.
So I um people would ask me how I'm doing, and I was doing fine, like as fine as you can be.
Right.
I had taken a break from work. Just I don't even remember how long of a break I was taking, but when Tyler died, I was actually working in pediatrics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taking care of older kids like Tyler's age
Mm-hmm.
at that time. So I took a break from pediatrics and went back to the labor and delivery part for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then um, during the time that I was off, I would go up and visit my friend Victoria, um, and she would happen to be on peds. And Jim would call me or Victoria and be like, "What are you doing up there?" And I'm like, "I'm just visiting Victoria."
Because it was a little too, like, he just had all the memories of where Tyler was.
Right. It was
Was it hard for you to see that, you think? To go
to
back to
see.
that area?
It was at first.
Yeah.
And then many of my friends wanted me to go to counseling, and I ended up not going to counseling. That's not to say that people don't need counseling. I
Mhm.
just ended up not going and um ended up being okay. But I got to the point where people would say to me, "I don't know how you're doing what you're doing." And I would be like, "Well, I'm doing okay. I'm doing good." And it was, I would say, months. I don't know exactly how long it was,
Mhm.
but I found another verse and I
Mhm.
was like, this verse kind of,
So you still didn't stop reading your Bible or anything like that, even though you were angry with God? You
I
still
went to
kept pushing?
church.
Okay.
I'm going to say I was going through the motions at that point.
Mhm.
Um, and so going to church and listening to sermons and stuff like that, this verse popped out to me. And um, so this is the New King James Version. And it says, always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. So I was like, all this time, I felt like, yes, people knew I went to church and I was kind of floating through
Mhm.
on church and my Christian background.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until I heard this
What
verse,
verse is that?
I'm sorry, 1 Peter 3:15,
Beautiful.
that I realized when people say to me, I don't
Mhm.
know how you're doing what you're doing, that is them asking about my hope that I have. And there is no, oh, I'm doing fine. There's a reason that I'm doing fine. And that
Mhm.
straight out is Jesus.
Mhm.
Like, I do think that I am a an anomaly in the fact that I didn't need counseling. I did end up going back to working in pediatrics because I felt like that's where God wanted me to be
Mhm.
through all of this.
Mhm.
But just being able to say that it is not me, I am not fine, but Jesus and God are supporting me through all of this.
Amen.
And when I am distraught,
Mhm.
that's who I turn to. During Tyler's funeral, the pastor that was leading, Chan Hubbard, he was a pianist
Mhm.
and a vocalist, so he sang all the time. And he sang a song that said that I think the title of it was Jesus Has a Rocking Chair.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think of Tyler sitting in Jesus's lap in the rocking chair.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes I have to climb in that rocking chair.
Yeah,
And there's many times I think that he's got a rocking chair and he's just waiting for me to crawl up in his arms.
because we are his children too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, um, when I did finally go back to pediatrics,
Mhm.
I really felt like my experience, now I see parents who are there, whether their child has a small little virus or a little asthma attack or whatever,
Mhm.
they're scared.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was there to help get them through that. I'm not going to promise you that everything's going to turn out fine because it
Right.
doesn't always turn out fine, but I'm going to use my medical knowledge and my parental experience
Mhm.
to help calm them down, you know, get them through this difficult part
Mhm.
of their child being sick.
And I think that sometimes when people go through really, really horrific things, sometimes God uses us as weapons to be able to help other people. And for you to have that experience and also the medical background, you can be someone's safest spot at that moment. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Um, but I mean, there's so many people that go through that. And I mean, losing a little one and is everyone's worst fear. And I just could never imagine. And for you to go through that and have your mindset stay the way that it did. And yes, you were angry at God. I'm sure you asked why. Like, why did
Mhm.
it happen? And I think that's what a lot of parents usually think is, why did this happen? Yes, I know that my child is with you, but why did you have to take them?
Mhm.
And did you wrestle with that type of question ever and how did you get through that then? Like being like, okay, why did this happen? Yes, I know Tyler's with you, but why did he have to go?
I I still do because I still don't have a why
Right.
in the fact. So medically, we are saying that it was E. coli because the two doctors that were there said that's the only thing that could have done that so quickly. But medically, tests wise, there was nothing. Like E. coli wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So I still medically, physically don't have a why. Do I have other whys? No, I don't either.
Yeah.
But I feel like with him passing away and people seeing Jim and I, how we have trusted God, we've survived it, we are on the other side of it now. I do feel like some of our family that were not Christians saw it and like, this is not the way to do it, but Jim's dad was in church one time and that was for our wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because he's not a churchgoer, was not a churchgoer, we had the plan of salvation at our wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim and I knew that many unsaved people were going to be coming to the funeral. So
Mm-hmm.
we definitely had the plan of salvation
Mm-hmm.
during the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we were like, if you're only going to be in church for certain things, we are going to get you while you're there.
Yeah. Because some people don't know where to start too. And some people I know personally, someone who wrestles with this and um they kind of question, like, they're like, "Oh, well, God isn't real because why does this happen? Why does God make things happen to this person and this person and this person?" So I think that that is something that a lot of people wrestle with and pushes them away from God. And then, there's some people too where they probably just aren't aware of it. They don't know where to start, or some people think they're too broken to be loved by God. And
Mhm. It definitely is. You have to have faith
hmm
that I might not see the reason, I may never know the reason, but I have to believe that there was.
right,
So, it is very much part of blind faith that I know there's a reason, I just don't understand it yet.
which also goes along with what people think too, because we're Christians, so we think nothing bad happens to us, and
Mhm,
that is furthest from the truth. We are we get the same thing. It's just we know that we have somebody walking alongside with us and
mhm,
holding our hand and has that rocking chair for all of us to
mhm,
sit in. He's our father. He loves us and he's there to comfort us. And how great is that we have that faith and have that knowledge of him and that love from him that we can go and tell other people about it. I mean, and your story could help so many,
mhm,
not knowing how to wrestle with that, or just learning how to turn back to God in that type of situation, whether it being a child, a parent, a grandparent, someone who was close to you, a friend. Um, it can go in so many ways. So thank you for sharing that story and being vulnerable and opening up.
mhm. A lot of people are when they hear that I have lost a son, they get real quiet and,
Right.
like, are afraid to ask me about him or talk. When Tyler's birthday comes up, usually it's around Christmas, so we're usually decorating the Christmas tree or,
hmm
when his death anniversary comes around, we try to do something family related.
Right.
But, like, I always say, like, on Facebook when those times come up, I'm like, "Don't be afraid to ask me about Tyler, talk to me, tell me your memories of Tyler, what you remember about, cute, chunky little Tyler. I would like to hear, don't be afraid to talk about him in front of me that I'm gonna get sad."
Right.
Well, I might have a moment, but I I'm totally willing to talk about him all the time.
I think a lot of people just don't know how to react in those certain
Mhm.
situations. They also want to be cautious of you and your feelings, and um, maybe they just don't know what to say. It's kind of like that fight or flight, like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna back away slowly. Sorry. Um,
So my friend Victoria that
yeah.
is the CNA, we've been friends for a long time, and, she was telling me when I told her I was gonna come on here and do this, she was
hmm
like, "Lori, you have to tell them that apparently during the funeral," I don't remember this, many of my worker friends had come to the funeral.
hmm
So I'm sitting in the front, and I guess I was looking over and making faces at them so that they wouldn't be sad.
Oh,
I don't remember that, but my friend Victoria remembers that. She was like, "Lori, you're in the middle of your own child's funeral and you are smiling and, you know, at us so that we wouldn't be sad."
yeah, because you knew you come to terms with it and you had your faith. So you were just showing that one simple gesture of, I'm okay. I know where he is. And we're just gonna we're just gonna roll. Bless your heart. Well, you're so strong. Seriously, you are so incredibly strong. Um, is there anything that you would like to share with everybody before we wrap up here? Any resources if anybody's going through the same thing, or
I
any
don't
advice?
have resources. I
No,
was not prepared in that
that's
way.
okay.
But like I said, I'm not afraid. I don't want anyone to be afraid to talk to me or mention Tyler or anything. It's not like you're going to say Tyler and I'm just going to bust out in tears.
Right.
I'm eager to talk about him, and I must admit when I first was giving my testimony on this, I think I scared many a mom because I just went too far into detail. And this verse that I was just talking about, the First Peter 3:15, it if you keep reading, always have a reason for the hope that's in you with meekness and fear. So I finally realized I didn't need to tell everything. It was just the basics.
But I'm sure that you telling everything helped you and
Right.
helps your mind kind of make sense of what had happened. And I'm sure you relived it a million times too of that scene, but that's also your mind trying to file all of the events that
Mhm.
happened and make sense of what have happened.
So one thing I forgot to mention. So I was pregnant with Rachel when it happened. So when it was finally time to go and have an ultrasound and they would be able to see if she was a boy or a girl,
Right?
we really, really, really did not want to have a boy
Right.
because we didn't want that whole we're replacing Tyler. We didn't want that um, temptation.
Hmm.
So when they said that she was a girl, we were so excited. And our plan from the beginning was for her name to be Rachel, and then her middle name was going to be Elizabeth, and those were after my two grandmothers. But I told Jim, we were sitting there, and I was like, I really feel like we need to put in a different name. And I said, what do you think about Rachel Joy or Rachel Hope? So Rachel is Rachel Joy.
Oh.
And then when we got pregnant with Hope and found out she was a girl, Jim was like, I really liked the name Hope too.
Hmm.
So we have Rachel Joy and Hope Elizabeth. So we still have our
Oh.
joy and hope after Tyler.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story and just being vulnerable and open and sharing your wisdom. It was really, really great to have you. And we will see you guys next time.